I think when we talk about the roles of journalists, we need not overemphasize it because it's very clear to all of us out there. We are supposed to be the agenda setters. We set agenda for the society. It is incumbent on us to educate the society. It's also incumbent on us to inform the society and, of course, influence the society appreciably, also to appreciate what is happening in the system. That's the journalists. Oftentimes were described as the watchdog of the society. When you look at the dog that is watching, it means that dog must always be attentive, be smart, up to task, not distracted, not influenced. The dog is always at its best, and that's the role of the journalists, building a society that is conducive for everybody to live in. Oftentimes, we'll make reference to saner climes. It is incumbent on the journalist to build a sane climb for human beings to dwell in, actually. And it's very clear. We set agenda, we watch the society, we inform the society, we educate the society, we influence the society, and so many, things. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Now it is on record that in 2017 alone, there were 81 reported cases of journalists that were killed. Do you think that journalists deserve what they get back from what they are contributing to society, and then now they are almost becoming endangered?
Well, that is true. I was, in fact, you took it from my mouth. They not just almost become endangered, we have become endangered clearly. It's really, really, really unfortunate. Like you made reference to what happened in second November, actually 2013, when the two French journalists were assassinated, which of course gave birth to this special day to end impunity for crimes against journalists. It's the same thing world over. And it's not just peculiar to here. It's not peculiar to Africa. It's the same thing everywhere that journalists have become so endangered. It's really unfortunate that oftentimes agents of state begin to see journalists as people that are competing with them. There shouldn't be any form of competition. They should be able to understand the roles of each other, because we have one objective. Let us have a sane climate for all of us to dwell in. While they do their own through different methods, we also do the same thing through different method. Oftentimes, it could be as a result of communication gap. There appears to be a disconnect. They don't seem to understand the important roles the journalist is playing. And that is where we keep having friction, between the two, groups. It's really unfortunate, like the statistics you just gave us. It's even much more than that.
More than that.
Always we hear
Even
about,
recently, Khashoggi.
Of course, I don't even want to go through that. You talk about killings, of course, incarceration. Beyond the killings you talked about, incarceration of journalists, we hear of physical assault, in arbitrary arrests, confiscation of working tools, and even premises where you work, they seal and all that. These are the things we hear every other day. And it's really, really unfortunate. And we believe that we have to really find ways of stemming this tide so that we don't continue along. The Jamal Khashoggi case is still very, very fresh in our minds. How he was dastardly, reportedly murdered, and all that. It's really unfortunate, my brother.
Now you are the president of the Nigerian Union of Journalists, and president as a national president. Is there anything that you're planning or any way you're trying to put in something in place where the union protects journalists or ensure lawful conviction of crimes against journalists?
Well, first of all, in 2014, on March 3rd to be precise, the National Monitoring Network on Safety of Journalists was inaugurated by the Nigerian Union of Journalists, basically to promote sanctity of press freedom, to support media practice that reflects and represents a diversity of views and interests within the Nigerian society, to encourage tolerance of diversity of views on issues and adherence to the rule of law in handling grievances, to establish, maintain, and sustain a good working relationship between journalists and agents of state. This network is not just made up of journalists.
That network is internal to NUJ.
Yes, it's supposed to be, is our baby.
Okay.
But the makeup is not just AUJ. We also have the Nigerian Police Force. We have membership from there, the civil defense, the custom, immigration, the army, the DSS, the Nigerian Press Council, the NBC, BORN, News Agency of Nigeria, Voice of Nigeria, and all that. We put it in place, though it appears as if this network is not so strong anymore since 2014. We intend, to reactivate it. We just came on board. And reactivating it is not so that we are going to allow it to continue to operate just at the national level. We are also trying to get our state councils to replicate it at the state levels. Like I've given you the objectives of that, to monitor, the extent of impunities against journalists and all that. Impunity is not just about killings, incarceration, and all that. But beyond that, there are other forms of impunities. When a journalist works and at the end of the month he is not paid, that has become commonplace in our system. We seem to have accepted it as a norm, as a normal thing, the new normal. It's terrible. It's an impunity on his own. When a journalist works and what he gets at the end of the day is so meager, not commensurate with the kind of efforts he put in the job, working round the clock and all that, is also an impunity on his own.
Oh, yes.
It exposes him to getting involved in all manner of things, mercantile journalism, reporting from a pecuniary interest, because when you are not paid, how do you survive? You've got a family and all that. These are issues that we must have to, tackle. There are impunities. Some people may not accept, but that is true. You understand? So these are the network, like I said, we've put in place is there to help, moderate this challenge that we have. And we're also taking other steps, trying to interface with the security agencies, creating platforms for constant interactions through seminars, workshop and all that. We'll come together, sit down, and the roles of these different groups will be clearly explained. We appreciate it, and not begin to treat journalists as a case of we versus them. Who are the we and who are the them? We are all Nigerians. And I don't think there's anybody that's going to watch the house that is taking time to build and use his hands to crumble the same house. So we are not that. So let us begin to appreciate each other's roles in nation building. All of us are working for the same objective, clearly. And by the time we improve on some of these efforts, I believe that we are going to check these increasing incidences of impunity against journalists.
Now, Chris Isiguzo was the bureau chief of this day newspaper. Oh, you still is?
Yeah.
I was thinking as the national president now you will take a leave of work.
Yes. Even if I take leave of absence, it doesn't vitiate the fact that is.
So you're currently the bureau chief of this day newspaper in Enugu, right?
In the East.
In the East.
Yes.
All right. Now, being a field man and coming into the presidency of being the president of the Nigerian Union of Journalists now, what does your administration plan to do in, you know, helping journalists that work for several months without being remunerated? Is there any mechanism that you're putting on ground now that should assist journalists, or some kind of report to when they've worked? Because I know media houses that have spent the last 10, 11, 12, even 15 months without salaries, and they are still functional. So how are you going to address that in your tenure? Is it going to be business as usual?
Well, it's really worrisome.
Yeah.
It's like I said, it does appear it's beginning to look like the new normal. Work and you're not paid and all that. It's really unfortunate. But we said that we're going to come with a different approach. Oftentimes, labor leaders will always resort to, picketing of media establishments, and but we are moving away from confrontational approach to dialogue. In the legal climb, the lawyer will always advise you. That's their new system, to rather adopt the alternative dispute resolution approach mechanism. It's better oftentimes, yes, and that's the system we want to introduce. Dialogue. We sit down, we engage the media owners beyond picket. You just go and picket after 24, 48 hours, everything returns to normalcy as if nothing happened. And you go celebrating that, basking in the euphoria that I will just did this. And what's the result? Like you said, 15 months arrears of salaries, and after picketing 2 months, the management pays 2 months. Have you achieved anything?
Not.
You've not achieved anything. And you say, you call them, I think we just got 2 months for you. Beyond that, we are going to sit down, engage these employers of labor in the media industry, and see how we can work it out. We appreciate that the economic situation now is not so helpful. That's the truth, especially for the print media establishments. For you to come out every day and all, it's not easy on them. That's the truth. But we need to sit down and work it out. It's not just about not paying them and they are just working, slave labor, so to speak. And we're going to interface with them and now come up with workable strategies, so that at the end of the day, if you have 2 persons working there are 10 persons you can adequately take care of. Please work with them. You understand? That is better than you have 1 million people and at the end of the day, not a single person is paid. It's not the best for us, So that's what we are trying to work out. Like you are aware, we just came on board.
You guys just came on
just about less than a month ago, and what we got in the office, I don't need to talk about it. But we want to take off is not usually easy. But by the time we effectively take off, we are going to start looking at all this. Like I said, I'm not happy somebody works and is not paid. We are going to work that out. Number 2, and how much is the person receiving? That man that is paid at the end of the day. How much are you receiving?
It's another issue.
Is nothing to write home about. And we feel that there is need for us to come up with a new media salary package, for our people. It's very, very important. When you look at other people in other professional groups and what they get.
They have a peck.
They have of course, and you cannot toy with it. But when it comes to the media, it's a big challenge. We are worried about it. So these are the things we think we need to work out. A new structure. Yesterday, I was with the president of the Nigerian Labour Congress, Ayuba Waba, and we discussed extensively on these issues. In the days ahead, we are going to start working at something, so that let's get something that is near commensurate with what the effort we put is important. And then number 3, we also notice that oftentimes media platforms pack up. One opens in January, in 6 months' time, they are not able to sustain it and they're off.
Newspapers.
Oh, yes. From hard copy, you go online, from online, offline. The next thing, we don't have jobs. It's a problem. People don't seem to bother about it. The next thing you see your colleagues going about with notebooks and biro, pen, and they don't really have anything they are doing. They're looking for where one banner or whatever is hanging just to eke out a living. Is a problem. If you take a census of the number of journalists that have lost their jobs in the last 8 months alone, on the last 8 months alone, you marvel at the result you are going to get. And we don't seem to be worried about it. The media industry is in crisis. We don't seem to have come to terms with that. And we must have to devise strategies of taking care of this challenge. You understand? And that's why during my maiden press conference, I made it clear that we are thinking of convening a national stakeholders summit. The stakeholders in the media industry. We sit down and work it out. I want to, at the end of the day, get a stabilization fund for the media industry. You recall in 2015 when the administration of President Muhammad Buhari came on board, state governors were unable to pay salaries, let alone embark on capital projects, because they didn't have the wherewithal, they didn't have the money. And they beckoned on the federal government to bail them out. Now the media industry is in similar crisis, and we are in dire need of a bailout. But we're not going to come from that angle. We need to stabilize the industry. By the time we get a stabilization fund, which is of course possible, when we come together, we work out the strategies for making this work for our people. You know, it will now be easier to, if an establishment is not able to, survive the economic challenge, you can assist. That way, your colleagues that are working there enjoy an appreciable level of job security. When you don't enjoy job security, I wonder how you're going to be the voice for the voiceless, conscience of the society, how you're going to set agenda. When you don't have a job security, you are going to start becoming tools in the hands of politicians. You understand? You now become a mercantile journalist. You understand? And I wonder how you're going to be the conscience of the society that way. But when you enjoy an appreciable level of job security, it's easier. And that's what we want to work out. But we're giving time immediately after the elections, because even if you call these guys now, the politically exposed persons, they are not ready to talk to you now. Until what is uppermost in their minds is 2019 elections and nothing more. When they are through with it, we're not going to sit down with them and work it out. We'll have to get the media industry.
The media industry will get a stabilization fund.
That's what we're looking at.
Now, what happens when you have media owners and moguls who live a life of luxury and affluence and yet refuse to pay salaries? You know that they have a profitable venture and it's going well for them, and yet they blatantly refuse to pay salaries. Shouldn't there be sanctions the NUJ should be looking at for such unscrupulous business owners?
That's why we said we are first going to interface or engage them, sit down, and of course they are going to also open books for us. Okay, look at what we are getting, look at how we can help, look at how we cannot help. Well, you don't just stay away and begin to imagine, look that they make this, just like in Greetings FM now. Assuming you are asked to sustain yourself, you are going to look at what you make at the end of the month. You understand? And if it is not enough to carry salary, becomes a problem. Now you're going to buy diesel. I know you spend so much on that.
Yes.
Because of the power problem we have. You're going to spend so much on that. And of course, other issues that crop up.
Vehicles.
Maintain your vehicles, maintain these facilities that you have here, And if what you get, of course, you are relying on patronage.
Yes.
And if it's not enough, it becomes a problem.
Yeah,
so that is why when we are going to sit down and discuss, you are going to say, look at what we make, at least for instance. It's not just somebody out there will just look at your structure and say, Kai, this is a big radio station. These people are making money. But it's not that way. I can easily tell you what you make. It's just a question of sitting down and monitor your program alone. for let's say for one day, 24 hours, I can easily say, look at what these people make.
Yes.
Because you're not going to hide it. You understand? So once the station is on, I'll be listening. I look at the adverts, I look at the jingles, I look at the paid announcements and all that. You can easily now say, look at what they make. Put it together for 1 month. Then put their wage bill. Put the other expenses, like we've talked about, power, talk about maintenance and all that. You can easily say, look at what they make. And when what you get is not even enough to take care of your wage bill, it's a challenge.
It's a big challenge.
So you don't just draw a conclusion that they are making so much money. You must have to engage them. You understand? By the time you do that, you'll be well armed to now get to the next level. And that's what we want to do. We don't want to just draw a conclusion, a quick one. Let us engage them first, and we'll take it from there.
All right. Another time we begin to advocate some kind of health insurance and life insurance for journalists practicing, especially in hostile communities.
Well, thank you very much. I also recall that between 2009 to 2012 or 15, we actually introduced the insurance program, an insurance program for journalists in the country. We did. Then I was a national ex-officio and later a vice president in charge of the Southeast. And I was a member of the CWC and of course NEC. That era came up with the insurance program.
Okay.
Of course, when you talk about insurance, it involves individual commitment.
Okay.
You understand? The package, we had different packages, but I can easily remember one where a journalist pays 6,750 naira every year, 6,750 naira. And it was difficult for people to remit. I recall Ondo State government, then under Olusegun Mimiko, had to pay for journalists,
indigenous journalists,
of course from that state. He paid for them. I also remember that Gombe State paid for journalists. Katsina State paid, but usually 1 year they would just pay because we were introducing it, and the insurance brokers needed a certain number, so we had to appeal to states, not up to 4. Then we were left with asking our colleagues to now pay, and they were not even paying.
6,700
6,750.
6,750.
Yes, and for those that were able to pay,
what would that cover? Life?
I don't have the details immediately.
Okay.
You know, but I recall that if in event you have an accident and there is death, the family gets 1.5 million.
Oh.
Yes, and some families actually benefited from this.
It's not enough. The time.
Within the time, yeah, they did. But along the line, apparently because of the lack of interest, nonchalance, and what have you, the thing started crumbling. But we want to reactivate it again.
I think
because
necessary.
It's very, very necessary. And it's also important to plead with our people that, there's no, even in Freetown, there's no free lunch. That's the truth. You must make commitment. Show commitment. Okay, I am interested in this. That your little commitment is going to spur the union to also do the needful. But when people don't even show commitment, it becomes a challenge. Now, the clearly defined source of revenue for the union is through check-off. Is that not?
Check-off dues.
Check-off dues. Now, if I tell you it's difficult for people to even remit that 2.5% of their basic salaries.
Yeah, it's not a fixed charge. It's just 2.5% of your basic salary. So
for people to even pay is a problem. I wonder how you also expect the union to function. So it's not just about what do you plan for them, what do you want to do for journalists and all that. Journalists themselves equally need to show commitment. It's important.
Yeah, but now that you are there, just like the NLC does, where union dues are deducted from the payroll, direct from the payroll, is it not possible that the NUJ can begin to initiate how their members, their confirmed members, let's say the News Agency of Nigeria, for instance, they are all members of the NUJ.
Sure.
Good. Like the News Agency of Nigeria remits the percentages to the NUJ.
We are trying to work it out.
And all that.
For a long time, such dues were going through Ratao and all that because of some administrative challenges they had. And we're still working it out, so that they adjust and begin to remit appropriately. You understand? But beyond those federal establishments that operate IPPIS, what about the state establishments? What about the private establishments? And all that. You understand? So it's a challenge. But I want to believe the challenge is enormous, but we'll sail through it.
We will overcome. Now, what's the synergy between Ratau and NUJ?
Ratau is Radio, Television, and Theatre Art Workers Union of Nigeria. That's Ratau. Mostly programs people.
Okay, yeah, mostly programs people.
Mostly programs people.
And drama.
Of course. Now, journalists, of course, those in the newsroom, those involved in news gathering, they are members of NUJ. You understand? And so I think it's very, very clear.
No, but I mean, is there any synergy?
Yeah, we work together, we relate. Of course, we are all media related organizations, and we work together where we need to do that. We relate the leaderships, we relate together, and we enjoy an appreciable level of working relationship.
Now, how would you describe press freedom in this present government? Is the Nigerian press as free as it should be from your own vantage point?
Even as you are saying it, I know that in your mind you have an answer.
I don't.
You do. Because how are you going to be free when the ownership alone tells you what to do? When, a politician is the owner of a station, there are things you are not going to do against him. You cannot come on air and begin to use stories that are offensive, quote and unquote, to your employer.
Politically incorrect.
Okay, thank God. So, to that extent, are you free?
Okay, that's an angle.
That's an angle, right? So, it's a major problem. Ownership issue is a major issue, because it is often said, there is this saying that whoever pays the piper dictates the tune. Even when the owner has not even asked you not to do certain things, you assume it on your own. That's what is called self-censorship. You even self-censor yourself. You understand? You will not say, Oga will sack me on your own. You understand? So to that extent, you will agree with me that we cannot say that we are 100% free. Now, talking about equipment, a journalist, you are engaged in a print media establishment, maybe they give you letter of employment. That's the much they do.
Okay.
Give you an ID card, and you are out. They don't give you the necessary working tools. It's a challenge. Oftentimes you see our colleagues, they are now relying on what comes out in the job. It doesn't make you free. When you are every day, your office is not paying you well, you are not properly remunerated, you are not free. That's the truth. When you go out, you now live on handouts. You are not free. These are the issues we must address. If at the end of the day you are properly remunerated. I remember those days when some foreign journalists were flown to Nigeria to come and do an interview with the government people and all that. I think they wanted to even give them something. They said, is that what you guys do here? A media organization put 2-3 of their staff on a chartered flight, and they flew all the way from United States to the country just for an interview. They were not expecting anything from you. They can ask you any question they wanted to ask. on their own.
And use their story
and use their stories the way they want. When they wanted to give them something, they were like, wow. They even now left why they came and they're focused on that one. Say, oh, you people do
That's
this.
another story.
That's another story. You understand? So, now put it the other way. Our own people embarked on such trip. Of course, they are waiting for what comes out of it. If it is not even big enough, they will be like, look at this people. Look at the what they gave us. Do they think we are just small journalists? You will even brag, not knowing that you are just engaging in an unethical behavior. That's the truth. Ethical misconduct. And that's the truth. But like I said, it's become the new normal. But does that make it right? No. So to the extent that we do all these things, will you say you are free? You are not free. When you are properly remunerated, properly equipped, you do your job, all the things you need to work with are available to you. For crying out loud, when you look at some of our colleagues in other saner climes, it's very clear. A lot of our people, when you ask young people, when you grow up, what do you say? I want to be like Christian Amampo. They begin to call all those big names in the media industry. You think is rocket science? They are human beings like you and I. The only thing is that the working condition in their climb is defined, and whoever engages you, of course, will abide by the rules. The same working conditions are the rule books here. But do we respect those provisions? The answer is nil. And to the extent we don't, are you free? The answer, your gaze is as good as mine. Well, we encourage the young people so much, even in Abuja here. There's a group of journalists, they are called the Young Journalists, and they are doing very well. They immediately came on board, they also approached me and the new leadership on how we can work together and encourage the young people. And I can tell you that myself, I'm a young man too, about the youngest to be the president of the NUJ since the organization was founded. I'm about the youngest, and so it's the time for the young people to be fully integrated in the system. It's not about much as we are also encouraging the young ones. We're also not doing away with our elders, because they are also there to guide us with their experience, years of practice. They are veterans. There are a lot of things they know that we don't know, and they can also always guide us. So for the person that asks the question, just approach us, and I can tell you that you're not going to be disappointed. We are open to relate freely with the young ones.